Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you're here. And welcome to the Throne of Glass reading vlogs. I am literally so excited, and I say vlogs because we're actually going to be doing it in two different parts. I asked you guys on a community tab a little while ago if you wanted it all in one big reading vlog or separated in two parts, so we're doing two parts because that's what you guys chose. And I've been working on this for so long, I think since like December of 2023, so 8-ish months, which is just absolutely insane. And I'm so excited to finally get these out for you guys, and you guys have been asking me about them quite frequently, so that just makes me even more excited to know that you guys are gonna enjoy watching them. Before we get into a little bit more information about the series, I will say that these vlogs are going to be spoiler free with spoiler sections at the very end. So if you know nothing about the series, never heard about it, anything like that, you can watch this vlog, or if you've read the whole entire thing, you can watch it, see my reactions, all of that kind of stuff. There is something in these videos for everyone. So I really do hope that regardless of what your experience is with this series, that you guys enjoy these videos. Throne of Glass is a 8-book series by Sarah J. Maas, who is the same author of the ACOTAR series and also the Crescent City series. And if you've been around the book community for like the smallest of time ever, you've definitely heard of ACOTAR. It's one of the most popular fantasy series that a lot of people get into so they can start getting into fantasy. This is very romantic heavy, and that's why this series itself is called Romantasy. This was the second series that she started, and Crescent City is more of a high fantasy, and it's the third series that she started. I haven't read Crescent City yet, but I'm going to be getting to that after I read Throne of Glass. And Throne of Glass was the first series that she ever wrote. She actually started writing this series whenever she was like 18 years old, which is actually insane to me because I could not even think about writing a book right now, and I'm 23 years old. For reference, I have already read the entirety of the ACOTAR series, and I actually have reading vlogs on each book and my experience with them, so if you guys are interested in that, I'll leave those linked down below for you to watch. Throne of Glass is an 8-book series about an assassin named Selena Sardothian, and she lives in a kingdom that is ruled by a king who isn't the greatest, which in turn makes his kingdom not the greatest. And in this first book, she is in a competition of sorts, so like trials, which is very common in fantasy books, to be the king's champion or the king's assassin. And the craziest part is that you start with like the first few books and it just turns into something completely different, and is just insane and so genius. So I'm gonna stop talking because I don't want to give too much away or any of my reactions or anything like that away. One last thing I will say before we actually start the reading vlog portion of this video is that the background changes are going to happen because we're going through different seasons, so just don't pay any attention to that. Let's go ahead and start with the first book of the video. Okay, if you hear any background noise, don't mind that. Luke is currently making dinner, but I finally decided it was officially time to start the Throne of Glass series, and I know there's a lot of controversy with how you start, so I wanted to talk about that before we fully get into this video. I am starting with the prequel, Assassin's Blade. If you don't know anything about the prequel, there are 5 novellas in here, and actually chronologically, I believe this was written 3rd or 4th in the series. So sometimes people read it 3rd, sometimes people read it 4th. I'm gonna read it 1st, just because it is a prequel, so obviously like the things that happen in here are before the rest of the book stories, and a lot of people have been recommending it to me that way too. And I am actually halfway through. I read the first 3 novellas. I'll be honest, I don't think that I would have enjoyed this book as much if I would have read it 3rd or 4th, because chronologically it really wouldn't have made any sense to my brain, and I know my brain, and I know for a fact that if I would have done that, I would have been really confused, especially going to the book after this book, because you're basically doing like 2 different time jumps. So I'm very glad that I decided to start out this way, and I highly recommend so far. Anyways, I mean, obviously I haven't read the next book after this, but I have a feeling that I'm gonna like the way I read it. I actually have one friend who loves the series, and she read this last, so I don't really think it has that much sway on how much you enjoy the series or anything like that, but I am glad that I'm doing it this way. Like I said, I have read the first 3 novellas, and I'm currently about to start the 4th one called The Assassin in the Underworld, and I'm really enjoying it. I like the pacing of it, and there's so much that's like going on and happening in these, which I really wasn't expecting because they are novellas, and normally novellas don't have that much happening, but they're also all connected. Like this could have all just been like one story and not been deemed novellas, and it still would have been perfectly fine. But I almost like that they're novellas because it kind of like breaks it up a little bit more and makes it easier to feel like you're accomplishing more as you read. But so much has happened. It's very fast paced, and I'm really enjoying it so far. The writing in this, of course, is very good too, because like, of course it is. It's Sarah J. Maas. But overall, I'm really enjoying this so far. Very fast paced. The writing's great. Overall though, excited to see what happens next because I am enjoying it so much, and I've heard a lot of people cry during this book, so I'm intrigued to see if I cry or not. sorry if the lighting is a little weird right now. We're still working on the lighting in our apartment, especially whenever the sun goes down. It's just kind of like overhead lightings galore, and it's just a lot, so don't mind that. Anyways, you guys just watched me finish the Assassin's Blade, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I feel like a lot of people ended up saying that it was super slow and not as good as the rest of the series. It was kind of unnecessary, and just because like they're novellas, so a lot of people most of the time think that novellas are just kind of like unnecessary fluff, but I really liked it. I feel like it added a lot. I feel like I already have a connection to our character, and honestly, if you're thinking about skipping this, even though I haven't even read the rest of the series yet, please do not, especially if you're scared about the novellas, because literally they're called 5 novellas, but everything connects. Like, it's literally just one whole story broken up into parts that are called novellas. So I would honestly just say this is like one book, not 5 novellas. So if that helps your brain with like the reading process of it all, definitely go into it thinking about that. I enjoyed it though. I think I'm gonna rate this a 4-star as of right now. I feel like at the very end my ratings will change for each book, so we'll go back through all of them at the end too and just kind of see how my ratings change, so I'm kind of excited to see. It'll be kind of interesting, and I'm also excited to see a few books down the line how I feel about starting with this one and not just going straight into Throne of Glass and maybe reading this one 3rd or 4th. So I guess we will talk about that in a little bit once I've like gotten to that point. But now that we're finished with this, we're gonna go into Throne of Glass. I'm very excited. I've honestly waited a long time in between both of these just because I was kind of like in a fantasy slump for a while. I read a lot of fantasies at the end of the year, and honestly they weren't really fantasy that I was really into, or maybe I was just in a fantasy slump and I didn't really know it. That's why I wasn't really into them. I'm not entirely sure. I finally feel ready to pick this up and give this a sure shot because I am in a perfect fantasy mood. So let's go ahead and start Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I finished Throne of Glass. Safe to say, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know how people say, oh, I just couldn't get into it. Like, I don't really get the hype, like all that kind of stuff. Like, what? Like, obviously it's gonna get better and better, and like this wasn't a 5-star read for me, but it's a series, like it takes time and stuff like that. Still, I thought this book was great. I thought it was very interesting. It takes a little bit to get into the fantasy elements of it all, so if you're reading and you're just like, this is just a normal story, just you wait. So I think you just have to be patient with it. Even the parts where people would probably deem it as slow, I thought they were very interesting, and I really enjoyed all the characters in here. I'm not gonna lie, I think the little romance thing that's going on too is very interesting because you can't really tell who likes who, all that kind of stuff, because it's kind of just like under wraps and it's just like touched upon briefly, and then it's like, oh, we're not gonna talk about that? Okay, sounds good. And since I've read the ACOTAR series, I've just noticed that she loves using sayings like calls to like we get it, Sarah, you like that, you know what I mean? There's stuff like that in here too. There's tons of like little Easter eggs of things that I could see happening later that I underlined. I actually ended up tabbing it a little bit too, which I was honestly kind of shocked about. I didn't expect myself to tab this one because it's like the first book, but I definitely feel like there's going to be a lot of important moments that come back later, or little Easter eggs, so I wanted to pinpoint those, or just stuff I wanted to come back to later because I thought they were cool and interesting, and maybe like wanted to read little portions again. Safe to say though, I am already super into the series. I'm also super obsessed with it, and I'm not even to like the amazing, wonderful, great parts yet. Like, I'm not even to the 5-star read parts of it all. I am taking a little break from the series because I have to film for a reading vlog, but I am so excited to get into Crown of Midnight. Like, I'm just so excited. saw, I am just about to start part 2 of this book. I wanted to do a quick little update though because I haven't talked about this one at all. This one was a little bit slow to start, but now that we're getting into it a little bit more, I am enjoying it more and more, just kind of like the last one. Some crazy stuff has happened in this one. Specifically where I just left off, I had to take a break just because I was so shook at what just happened before the second part. I don't know. This book series is already kind of pulling on my heartstrings a little bit, not gonna lie. I'm just really excited for it to pick up a lot more. I've really been enjoying it, even though it's been a little bit slower, and I know we have to go through some things because it's like world building and we have to know things to like get things in the future and stuff like that. There's been a lot of just like talk about things happening. Like there hasn't really just been like things happening, you know? So I'm really looking forward to that. I've also heard that the ending of this one is just like insane. Like this is people's like favorite, one of their favorites at least in this whole series. So I'm very excited to see where this one goes. And I don't know, I just want to do a quick update on this one because I haven't talked to you guys about it yet. So let's just get back into it. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. And I've heard from all of my friends who have read it and been begging me to read this series that the ending of Crown of Midnight is just like crazy insane. And I can say now, because I've read it, that it absolutely is. This book did take a little bit for me to get into because I think there is a little bit of information dumping. The ending was just insane, like no other. Like this is such a great ending. Wow, like wow. I don't know what else to say. I feel like the end of a lot of Sarah J Maas's books are kind of just like information dumps, which honestly like I really do enjoy because it kind of gets like my heart rate going and I don't want to stop and I want to keep reading, and then it makes me excited to go into the next book too. Like she books crack in the last like 150 pages of her books, which I feel like a lot of people do say that a lot, but it's true. Like it's just straight up true. At the moment I think I'm gonna rate this a 4.75. I don't think it's a 5-star because I just don't have like those 5-star feels. I do have good feelings, but I know it's not a 5-star just because like the beginning was like kind of just like slow and like a little draggy. But I get why it had to be that way because like we had to build up to this intense moment at the very end that was just absolutely insane. I'm still not over it. I do have to say though, I called it. I literally texted my friends. I was like, and they were like, keep reading. And I was like, and that's all I can give you because this is spoiler free. Okay, on to the next one. Hello everybody. I just redid my bookshelf, so that's why I really wanted to sit in them and reading vlog. I'm just so excited. They look so good. That video is definitely up before this one, so go check that out if you haven't yet. But I started Heir of Fire a few days ago, I think, and I'm only about 150 pages through. I've just been like working on other stuff, doing other stuff, but really hoping to get a lot of the way through in the next 2 or 3 days. I haven't read a book over 500 pages in a long time, honestly. So I think it's just been like a little bit overwhelming for me. But besides that, I'm enjoying this so much. I honestly haven't had a lot of time to sit down and read and just like read for hours. I've just been kind of reading like here and there whenever I can in between doing things. And I am enjoying this to the point where I don't want to put it down. I even started tabbing it a little bit. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they're like light green tabs. And I also met some very important new characters. I'm getting a lot of new point of views, which isn't confusing like it is in some other books. For some reason, whenever Sarah J Maas says it, it just makes complete sense to me. And I don't know if that's just because we got used to getting Selena's point of view and then a few others' point of views in the earlier books, and now we're slowly getting into other people, so we already know those people, and now we're getting introduced to new people. I just feel like it's not confusing. Like I just just don't feel confused about who we're following or anything like that. Like, it's just so clear because they're all so different. And yeah, I don't know, the story is really picking up in this book. I feel like a lot of people say that this book has a lot of world building, and normally whenever that happens I feel a little bit bored, but I don't know, I just don't feel bored. This is exactly how I felt with the ACOTAR series, especially book 2 and book 3. I would read them a little bit here and there, and then one day I would just sit down and binge the rest of it no matter how much I had left of the book, just because I was so into it and I literally couldn't put it down and I wasn't doing anything else that day. And even though sometimes there was a little bit of world building in those, I still was just like eating it right up. And even in the moments where there was like little world building stuff, there's not as much world building in ACOTAR. I mean, obviously I don't know if there's more world building in here. I feel like there's going to be, just because there's less romance in these, and we're like finally like really getting into like the heart of the story. Other than that, I have nothing else to say about this book so far because I did just start it. I'm just excited to continue, and you can see too, I finally bought the rest of the series, so it'll be ready for us whenever we're ready to read it. Got a little snack, I've got my AirPods, we're ready to go. Okay, my PJs, I am hunkered down. I have finally hit the last 100 pages of this book, and honestly, like, the last 50 pages before the last 100 pages were crazy because everybody's like, oh my gosh, the last 100 pages of any SJM book, absolutely insane. So my question is if the last 50 pages have kind of been insane in themselves, what are the next 100 pages going to be like? I'm nervous, to say the least. I just need to get back into it immediately. I need to know what happens. Okay guys, I've officially finished Heir of Fire, and if you can't tell by the tabs, I really enjoyed this book. I think throughout a lot of my updates I said this, but this is the book where things change. This is the book where a lot of things pick up, where the story really starts storying. And I feel like the first 3 are mainly about Selena's journey, about her story, about where she came from, a little bit of world building, but truly just to get her backstory so you care about her more throughout the entire series, because even though we get a lot of people's perspectives, she is like the main character. So in this one, the biggest reason why this book is so much bigger than the other ones is because you're getting a lot more POVs in here, a lot more of the people that you even get in the other few books. So you get a lot of Selena in here, which is amazing and wonderful because I absolutely love her as a character. I'm loving her character arc and just her growth and everything, but you get her story and then you get all of these other people's stories and you can just see all the little things and like things coming together. I will say the first half of this book was pretty slow. There was one point of view where when I started reading their point of view, it wasn't really my favorite, and then they kind of grew on me a little bit more, and now I'm excited to see more of them in the next book. But I just wasn't really like for that character. I kept wanting to go back to Selena's perspective, and honestly there were just so many crazy things that happened in this book. Like I have no idea where this is going to go. Okay, besties, you have just watched me read the first 4 books in the Throne of Glass series, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but after having read these a little bit ago, these are my thoughts. First off, with the 4 books, the reading order is a very important thing about the series. I already talked about that a little bit whenever I was reading The Assassin's Blade. I obviously chose to read The Assassin's Blade first of the series, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it, if I should have read it third, whatever. There's so many different opinions on this, and I feel like I'm going to talk more about it in the second part when I've actually finished the entire series, because I feel like I would know for sure how I feel about it, and I obviously don't want to recommend you guys something that I don't know how I feel about yet. And I have also heard that a lot of people say the first 4 books in the series are a lot slower than the rest of the series. I feel like that does happen in a lot of series, especially because I already said the first 3 books are low-key kind of like prequels to just her grander story in general. But I don't really agree with the fact that they were like slow enough to not be intriguing or interesting or anything like that, because the writing's still really good, the character development's really good, all the characters involved, all the different point of views just makes it that much better and that much more interesting. And I feel like this genuinely proves how much of a genius that Sarah J Maas is. She took the time, she really solidified Celaena's character so much that I didn't even realize how connected I was to her until more things started happening to her. I was like, oh, okay, like I'm really in it. Like I'm like loving this world so much, but it's just because I know so much about her. Like I literally feel like she could be my best friend. But I think my favorite book out of all of these was Heir of Fire. This book started out slow, but once it got going, it was so insane. You get introduced to so many new characters, and it was just so incredibly good. I love my girl Celaena and everything that she's gone through, and she truly just like means so much to me, and this book just solidified that. I mean, you can tell how I got progressively more into the series by the amount of tabs that I put in there too. Heir of Fire was almost a 5-star though. That's how good it was. It was 4.75. It was just a little bit slower at the beginning. Also, I am rating these books, but they might change a little bit comparatively to what I rate these ones back here. I'm not really sure yet, so again, they might be different in the second reading vlog, but these are my loose thoughts and ratings right now. I think I'm gonna rate Crown of Midnight a 4.5. It was really good. The ending was crazy, and I just really enjoyed the characters and like kind of like the life that they have in these first 3 books, where they really just kind of stay in the kingdom. I think comparatively these 3 to the rest of the series, it's just a really, really great way to start out with our main characters. Throne of Glass and Assassin's Blade, I'm not too sure yet with my ratings. I think that they're like around a 4. 3.75 if anything. I was still interested and into it, and they were a little bit slower, I do agree, to some extent than the rest of the series, but at the same time, like for a fantasy, like starting out, I feel like they were still really good, really fleshed out. I liked the characters, I liked everybody in it, and yeah, I don't know. Overall, if you get anything from this video, if you have not read this series yet, read it. Please read it and stick through it. If you guys have not read the series yet, go ahead and like and subscribe and comment down below the deer emoji. If you know, you know. If you watched until this far in the video, so I know who the real ones are. And if you want to keep up with my daily life, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and on Goodreads especially if you want to keep up with what I'm reading in real time. And I hope you guys are all having a wonderful, fantastic day. We are gonna now get into the spoiler section, so go ahead and click off if you have not read the series, or at least the first 4 books in the series, so I don't spoil anything for you. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into all of my spoilery thoughts. Sam dying? Super sad. I'll be honest, I didn't feel like incredibly connected to him, but I did feel enough to where his death kind of like did something to me. I was definitely tearing up, as you guys saw. All this stuff with Ansel and her betraying Celaena was kind of crazy too. I really liked the Mute Master. I really liked the part where she was in the Red Desert actually a lot, and I hope that in the rest of the series she somehow like comes back to the Mute Master. And obviously Sarah J Maas doesn't do anything unless she has a reason, so I'm guessing a lot of the plot lines in here are going to be threaded into the story like way in the future, which is kind of exciting, especially because she didn't kill Ansel, so I feel like Ansel's definitely gonna be coming back at least for something. And I'm honestly not surprised that Arobynn was the one doing all of the shady stuff, and he was working with Farron. Like, that really didn't surprise me. Him saying, though, I don't like to share what's mine, like, he's just, ugh. Like, I just don't really like Arobynn, but this was really good. Arobynn gives me the ick. Currently reading Throne of Glass, about halfway through, and we have finally gotten to the magical parts, which I've been waiting for this entire time. At first I was kind of like, is there gonna be like magic in this fantasy? Like, there has to be some sort of magic in this fantasy. And I remember in Assassin's Blade, they were talking a lot about the Fae and how they were kind of like exiled, and then just like everything about the Fae was destroyed. And then she went down those tunnels and then had that dream and got that amulet from like the old Fae queen. And I am just so excited to see where this goes, especially because I want to see how this connects to Agatar and Crescent City. Haven't read Crescent City yet, but very excited to read it. And I don't know, I just really hope that they all connect in a very good way. And I am like eating this up. I'm loving this. Also Dorian. I love him. Guys, Elena, like the Eye of Elena, all this stuff, Cain, the word marks, the king knowing about the word marks, like that. And then like the black rings, like I still don't know what's going on really, like with all of that stuff, but that was interesting. There's just so much that's going on. Like obviously I knew she was gonna be the king's champion, but I don't know. This was really good. I liked it a lot. Okay, I'm kind of confused. I want to know what's going on with Nehemia. She has like so much power. She's literally tracing word marks on like everything, and also on Dorian, and now he has magic. Like, what's going on? The little crumbs of romance we're getting right now between Selena and, I don't know how to say his name. Kale? Chal? Maybe I should look that up. I'm really scared I'm gonna get spoilers though. How to pronounce? His name is Kale. Okay. I was kind of like living for the love triangle, and there's still like little inklings of it, but I do really like Selena and Kale. They're very cute, and the dancing scene was just like everything. The first like 50 pages of this were very slow, but it's definitely picking up a lot more now, and I'm really enjoying it. Nehemia is dead. What? And also I knew Archer was kind of like, I don't know, just like something fishy was about him. I felt it and I just kind of knew. So there's that. Really shocked that Nehemia is dead. I just got to part 2 and I just know that shit's about to go down. Another thing about Nehemia dying, she had so many answers for so many things for Selena and Dorian. Like, what are we gonna do about Dorian's magic now? Like, we just have to wait longer to figure out. I'm low-key getting frustrated. I freaking knew it. I knew Selena was Aelin. I thought it was so weird that nobody talks about Selena, for 1. 2, I texted my friends before, like whenever I saw that she turned into a fae. What? Which is just like absolutely crazy. Absolutely insane, right? And then I was like, oh, she's fae. Aelin, she's from Terrasen. Connecting the dots, and then at the end, whenever Kale finally connected the dot, why does it sound like there's a literal spaceship going off outside my window? But yeah, that was actually insane. I literally like, I knew she was Aelin. I texted all my friends who've read it. I was like, she's Aelin, she's Aelin, she's Aelin. That's my guess. I'm calling right now, and I called it. I called it. Oh, and it makes sense too, like I was saying, because nobody talks about Selena, but so many people talk about like Aelin and Rowan and Manon. I don't know, I haven't met her yet, but that was really good, guys. Okay, I'm almost done with this book. I just realized I didn't really give a lot of spoiler stuff. I met Rowan and Manon, finally, and finally kind of met Aelin. I have been enjoying so much watching Selena grow with her power and stuff like that. The first half of this is a little bit slower compared to what I think the rest of the books are going to be like, and I think that's why a lot of people say there's a lot of world building in here, because there is, obviously, and like you guys know because you've already read it. But I'm just so shook at like so many things that are going on and happening right now. Currently at the part where Selena is basically just getting eaten by the Vowed Princess, and she's having like weird flashbacks and stuff like that. I'm freaked out, to say the least. I will share though, I think I'm in love with Rowan. This was the crumb, okay, that I am just so rooting for. Oh, not a chance, princess. You can tell me what you want when you want it, but there's no going back now. I'm sure your other friends just adore having you around. A Pharaoh smile. He grabbed her by the chin. The chin. Not hard enough to hurt, but to get her to look at him. First thing, we're not friends. And then he leans in closer, his grip tightening on her jaw. Second, whatever we are, whatever this is, I'm still figuring it out too. So if I'm going to give you the space you deserve to sort yourself out, then you can give me mine too. She studies him for a moment. Their breath mingling. Deal, she said. And then him taking care of her whenever she got burnt out. Are you kidding me right now? So incredible. And then she's also using that sword against those guys, and it's like an ancient sword or something like that. I was kind of curious about that, and now we know. So that's wonderful. I genuinely don't really know what else to say. I mean, I'm glad I'm finally meeting like the 5 or whatever that Rowan's a part of. Finally meeting like Lorcan, those kind of characters. But I'm really excited to see where it goes, and I am a little bit upset that Rowan already has me, but I simply don't know what to do with that information. but I'll be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm about to get so much backstory. I'm so nervous. The turning moment scene in this book, whenever they're like, and she arose, like she took Aylin's hand of who she used to be, and she's like accepting who she is now, and I don't know. That was good. That was kind of insane, and exactly like what Celaena needed. The blood oath? The blood oath is broken. Rowan's now blood oath to Aylin? What? I'm literally so shook right now. I'm gonna finish it tomorrow because I have like 20 pages left, and like it's kind of come to a resolution, so I'm not that worried about it. Just finished this. Number 1, Rowan got out of his blood oath so easy. That was kind of wacky. But then he does a blood oath for Aylin. I mean, I'm not mad about it. I did think it was kind of weird that it was like a little too easy though. But let me tell you what, those last like 200 pages had me, I don't even know. I had to read them in one whole sitting because everything was just absolutely insane. And then Dorian and like the Wordstone thing, like, what does it mean? Does it mean he's gonna become one of like the Valg guys or whatever? I'm really stressed for my Dorian right now because I've really grown to love him. And also Sorsha deserved better. That poor girl, she was just trying to be a little spy, and then we figured out that Ren was the one like sending her all the letters and stuff. Awful. Awful. And it really does make me nervous because truly nobody is safe in this series. And that little moment where Aylin like really came into her power and like chose to like get up, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, because you're watching this part, you know? That was just really, I don't know, it was just really good. And I like the way she fought back against Maeve. And I know I already said this in this video, but Manon was the one that I wasn't really like liking that much of her POV. I know a lot of people love her so much, and I can see why, obviously, but I don't know. I would just get to her POV and I'd kind of like, I don't know, like I wasn't as into it. Towards the end though, I think I started to enjoy her a little bit more, and I'm excited to see where her character goes. And I am just so excited to see where Celaena and Rowan go from here. Okay, it's time for me to yap more about my spoiler thoughts. Let's get into the yapping wrap up. Wait, am I a genius? Okay, let's get into the yapping wrap up. First, starting with Assassin's Blade, a genius way to do a little prequel. Obviously, I did read this first, and I did enjoy reading it first. Still not sure how I feel yet. Obviously, I talked about that a little bit earlier, but Sam dying really just crushed my heart, and it just added so much more depth to Celaena's character. I literally hate Erebin with every fiber of my being. Looking back at this one now, so good. Throne of Glass. Cain and all of his story, basically, the trials. I still did enjoy this one. I really like Nehemia, and Dorian. I love my man Dorian. Her and Kale's like little relationship in this was interesting too. Don't understand why she picked Kale over Dorian. Like, I was enjoying the little love triangle. I like love triangles to a certain extent, okay? But for me, let me just say, if I had to choose between Mr. Kale and Mr. Dorian, I would have gone Dorian all the way. Dorian would be my #1 choice. But I saw something somewhere that it was like, if she would have chose Dorian, she never would have eventually got with another character in the series, because how can you get over Dorian Elevard? And to that, it makes sense. Okay, it makes a lot more sense. And I also saw something saying that literally Kale reminded her of Sam. That is so sad and just so heartbreaking. Cried at midnight. The biggest thing about this one was basically the end. Oh, and then in Throne of Glass too, we do get the king's perspective for a chapter. I just think that third person is just so genius for a series like this. Like, honestly, if we would get a more third person in Avatar, kind of how she did with the 5th one, because that one is in third person, but if we would have gotten everybody's POVs, not just Nessie and Cassian's, I think that I would have enjoyed the 5th one a lot more. I think it's crazy how much more you feel connected to every single character too, and like they're not just like side characters and they're turning into main characters. This one, obviously at the end we don't meet Aylin yet, but we get to know who Aylin is, which is super insane, and the character development, everything that adds to Celaena / Aylin's character is just totally insane to me. In this one we learn a lot more about like word stones, word marks, all of that kind of stuff, and the way that it plays in later is actually so crazy to me. When Nehemia died, that was like honestly crushing. Like, I really enjoyed how her and Nehemia had like a really cute relationship, and I love that for her. I think a lot of this book was a lot more just like vibes and like learning and like world building to set up for like later things though. There still were a lot of like great and important things that happened, but the ending was definitely like the key component to this one. This is also where we meet Mr. Adian as well. Oh my god, I forgot about that. It's so crazy going back to think like what happened in each book. Heir of Fire, which was like undoubtedly my favorite from these 4 books that I read in this video. The way that this is the turning point, we finally get into the fantasy of it all. We learn a lot more about Valg, her getting attacked by Valg was absolutely crazy at the end. We meet Miss Manon, we meet Mr. Rowan, we meet some of the cadre. I don't want to give away too much because I don't exactly remember what's in these 4 books and not in the other ones. So I'm really, really excited to talk in the spoiler section after I'm done with the rest of the series. And she also falls so much into her power in this one, which is just so cool. It's kind of crazy to think about her not having powers at this point. When we learned about Marion's sacrifice, literally ate me up. It was so good. And obviously, officially, whenever she chose to accept herself as Aelin again, that was just such a good scene. Obviously, she was going through so much of depression here, and I just love her so much more, and the way that she can just combat anything and just go through anything, and yet she still comes out stronger and fiercer, and I just love her. In the end, like literally the last 200 pages of this one was insane. Safe to say, I'm obsessed with this series. I'm so excited to continue it and talk to you guys about it so much more in the part 2 to this reading vlog. Subscribe if you're excited to see the second one or see more of my videos. Follow on my socials. Actually, comment down below the ninja emoji if you watch until the very end. If you've read this series and you could watch the spoiler section. I want to see who's read it and who hasn't because I'm just genuinely curious. Okay, I will see you guys in my next video. I am literally so excited for these vlogs. So, I love you guys so much. Hope you're all having a fantastic, wonderful day. And yeah, bye guys. Sorry, the phone of blah 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 blah. I don't know why this always happens. I literally film in front of you all the time. Very past-faced and no, past-faced. You're kidding. I'll be able. I don't know why I'm filming right now.
You're pretending to be on a page.
Can you hear him?
Yep. That's okay.
Oh my god. Luke! Are we ready? Are we ready for it? Boom, boom, boom. The way that it's so off because we're on FaceTime. Me to read. Why does this do this? Okay. Guys, I used mousse today and now my head is literally like rock hard and disgusting and oily and I just washed it, so I can't wait to wash it again tomorrow. I love my girl Aelin. Oh, I don't think I can talk about that actually.